question. There, of course, are a number of other instances as well beyond the HR conferences in Orlando last summer. You had some of the issue about senior VA employees receiving thousands of dollars in bonuses, National Golden Games issue in Hawaii last year, which is more than double or triple the cost of games in previous years, and obviously when we're looking at our nation in some pretty dire straits financially, want to make certain every single spare dollar at the VA goes to veterans care, not some of these other spending issues. I did send you a request for some information about last year's VA conferences more than 5 weeks ago. When do we expect a response on that? I know in your testimony you talk about delivering data by the forklift. All we wanted is a very limited set of information from last year. When will we get a response? And I know the committee's asked for some information as well.
Sir, I'd be glad to provide that information for the record. We've got your request, and we'll certainly respond to it.
The question is when. It's been 5 weeks. The data is over a year old. The data is spent. The money's gone out the door. The question is, how much did you spend on those conferences, and when will I expect a response?
If you'll allow me to go back and find out the answer to your question, I will do that, sir, and get you a firm date.
And that's what bothers me is we don't have the information. We don't have a firm date. You have your CFO right there. This is dollars that were already spent. You've already put the dollars out the door. How much did we spend on that conference? And Mr. Grams, maybe you can share what's the problem finding the data? Is there mismanagement? Is the data not there yet? Is it not in the system? And that's what's troubling.
And I do apologize. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking me a question about. At one point, you were asking about SES bonuses. But your question is actually to conferences in Orlando, and I agree with you that Mr. Grams would be a great resource to answer that question.
Congressman, my understanding is that what you're talking about, the conference cost, has been submitted to the committee. So we've got a communication issue here. I need to go back and check on that. I came up here today believing you had that information. I know last year we talked here at the committee. We spent last year about $100 million on conferences. I believe you had asked for a further breakout of that figure, and as I said, we came here believing you had that information. We'll go back and find out where it is.
Well, in addition to
will the gentleman yield?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Real quickly, because I asked, I wrote a letter to the Secretary along with the ranking member, Mr. Filner, in August 16th. We have not received a response from that particular inquiry. And again, within that letter, there was the conflict between the original testimony of $20 million a year and then subsequent testimony that you provided that was $100 million. We were asking for, help us rectify those two numbers and bring them together. But we have not received, that I am aware of, any response in regards to those numbers.
If it would help, can I explain that difference now?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you would, freeze the clock.
Sure. The difference between the $100 million and I mentioned the $100 million to you when I was up here last November. My understanding is you were then submitted a figure of $20 million a few months after that. As a general rule, it doesn't apply to every conference, but as a general rule in the VA, about 80% of the cost of an average conference is for travel, to take the employees to that conference so that they can attend. The difference was the $100 million figure that I gave you, I considered as all-inclusive. It was, you asked me how much we spent, so I gave you a number that reflected what I believe was all the costs involved in the conferences that we did last year. The $20 million figure you were given was a different interpretation of the core costs of the conferences, which excluded travel. And that's roughly that 80% difference for most conferences that goes to travel.
That I also had a request list of all the attendees. Obviously, that's clearly has not been received of who attended that conference. I also asked you more recently some information about the Golden Games. It's interesting you mentioned 80% of the cost of events is travel. There's a $1 million expenditure for an event planner, and for the Golden Games in Hawaii. It's interesting, the Golden Games in Hawaii, according to information on a governmental website, it was double or triple the cost of previous Golden Games in the mainland. And when do I expect an answer for those questions, especially that $1 million cost for an event planner? Because I thought you did that in-house. So any response on that?
Sir, if I might, the issue to which the Congressman is referring is the world's largest rehabilitative event. I'm sure some of you have been to see these before. You know what goes on there. There are extraordinary opportunities for rehabilitation. There are opportunities for individuals to demonstrate to others who thought they might never walk again or compete again to do so, 55 and over. Several years ago, in 2007, we received a request from the governor of Hawaii, Linda Lingle, and also Senator Akaka, who had his last chairman's meeting just the other day in the Senate. Both wrote letters to VA expressing a desire to hold the games there. What we saw was an opportunity, since these are largely Vietnam veterans, to bring them through the point of debarkation for the Pacific, where they fought and served our country for
Mr. Gould, I'm about out of time. When can I expect a response? Especially given that
we certainly can.
Hawaii Golden Games, and then you hired somebody in Alaska for $1 million as the event planner.
Yes.
And so I'd appreciate a response. And quickly on that, in reference to, this is financial data that's over a year old, and similar to the questions from the chairman. And that data should be readily available and should be made readily available, I think, to the committee and to myself as well. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you.